Hey, we got a big show. Welcome to the program today. Anthony Cirelli of the Tampa Bay Lightning of Team Canada at the victorious Four Nations Faceoff. He'll be stopping by in about 15 minutes' time. Look forward to talking to Anthony Cirelli. Also, Jay Rosehill, after the Leafs win a thriller in OT, Mitch Marner, he of the behind-the-back kick pass to John Tavares, he of the breakaway, ending it in overtime. Jay Rosehill from Leafs Morning Take will be aboard. We'll talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs. We'll talk about plenty of things here. And Zach Phillips, one of the things that I wanted to start talking about today is something that nobody has really figured out how to do. And I don't know how to do it either. Like, I'm not presenting myself as if I've come down from this mountain with these tablets. I'm not like that. You know what? No one's
cracked. Your head and rub your belly at the same time.
Hang on. Okay, I can now. That's all right. I can kind of do that one.
Okay.
You know what? No one's cracked the code on yet. No one's really figured out how to do. Historians can quibble with me here and find examples, I'm sure, but no one's really cracked the code on what do you do when you start a rebuild with a superstar player, with a franchise cornerstone, as opposed to having your franchise player come in halfway through or towards the end of a rebuild. So there already are players there for that player to play with. You know what I'm saying here? Like, there's kind of
I do.
And what I'm getting at here is the Chicago Blackhawks. And this might be a sort of mild defense of the general manager, although I think we all do wonder whether Kyle Davidson's in trouble in Chicago here, because it is kind of a mess. And we're going to get to Seth Jones in a couple of seconds here. But I'll tell you what there is right now. There's kind of and this is one for the older crowd here. Young Phillips, you can just settle down and pay attention, history class time. There's kind of like a Mario Lemieux Pittsburgh Penguins vibe about this. Like, when Lemieux joined the Penguins after he was drafted in '84, they were awful. And Mario had nobody to play with. Now, he made a lot of players millions and millions of dollars along the way, but he had no one. Like, they were starting out with Mario and a bunch of Jags. You know what a Jag is in hockey?
No.
You know what a Jag? Just a guy. Oh, I'm playing with some Jags. Just a guy. With all due respect to listen, if you're a Jag in the NHL, you're an awesome player. Let's just establish that now. But comparatively, like, a Jag is a Jag. Just a guy. You're still in the NHL, but Jag's a Jag.
Yeah.
And I look at Connor Bedard, and you look at the frustration, and we've all seen that 1,000-yard stare that he had in the penalty box last night, where young Connor Bedard is sitting there having these, like, existential moments in the penalty box, you know, thinking to himself, you know, how did I get here at this place and this type of futility with the Chicago Blackhawks again? And then throwing salt on the open wound is Seth Jones. And I want to get there in a couple of moments. But let's sort of set the table before we get... By the way, do you have any comment on that one? Like, the idea of you're starting out your rebuild with the franchise player right there without other players. You could try to piecemeal it together and go and grab guys from all over the place, which is what Kyle Davidson has tried to do here for Chicago. But at the end of it, I guess you can't choose your timing. But they're starting it out with Connor Bedard, and it's really tough to do that.
Yeah, it is. And I was trying to think, like, while you're talking about that, the roadmap that it takes, because I have an example of something that ended up working out really well.
Okay.
Watch how I do this and how I get here. Ready? When Austin Matthews joined the Maple Leafs the first year, they made the playoffs, and they made the playoffs every year since. But I kind of look at that one, and it's like,
players were there.
Luck.
Players were there.
But because
Riley,
exactly,
Nylander,
Nylander
players
was
were there.
Yeah.
Players were there.
Yeah.
It's
just
a
like
great one.
They were first round draft picks, but yeah, they were there.
When Edmonton started their rebuild long before Connor McDavid arrived, there were players there already.
Well, they tried, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I know there's a number of different false starts for the Oilers, and we always used to joke about that sign in the Edmonton Oilers dressing room, earned, not given. And then we all went over to Cap Friendly. and looked what was earned and what was given, but I digress.
Yeah.
Let's set the table for the show here today. And don't forget Anthony Cirelli coming up in a couple of moments. Daily Outlines presented by our friends and partners at FanDuel, North America's #1 sportsbook app provider. And coming up on the program today, we've got a couple of special guests and a number of, a number of intriguing topics. And I swear, I know I say this every show, Zach, we're going to get to all of them. And the free fall continues. Yeah, I know. Who's kidding who, right? The free fall continues about around the Chicago Blackhawks, fueled yesterday by, and I guess logs thrown on the fire by Seth Jones, defenseman, who's now gone from saying essentially, I want out, or I'd look good back with the Blue Jackets, now just to saying, yeah, we're the same as we were on game one. Shady business, spot quiz, who said it? Brady Tkachuk. And whether it's right or wrong, we'll talk about why it's great for the NHL and great for the Tkachuk brand. And I'm going to loosely try to draw lines between the Tkachuks and the former lead singer of the Sex Pistols. See if I can do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Watch. So we'll see. Some of the analogies I do have are strained. We'll see where this one goes. Anthony Cirelli of the Tampa Bay Lightning and Team Canada will stop by here in about 10 minutes' time. Look forward to that conversation. Jay Rosehill from Leafs Morning Take will tell us why Mitch Marner is perfect. And I swear, because Zach is going to, I know you'd like that one. Zach is going to make sure, he has an elephant tamer's whip that he's going to use with me today to make sure that I get to things like the emails, because we want to get this as a daily feature here on the program, but I tend to be a little bit verbose, and it's sort of, we just flat out run out of time. But we will get to some of your emails today because a lot of them have been really thoughtful. In the meantime, before we get to Anthony Cirelli here, who's aboard in about 8 or 9 minutes' time, you want to play, I think probably everyone's had a listen to this already, but nonetheless, just so we have some context, just so we're all working from the same playing field here, let's hear Seth Jones last night. Frustrated, hands in the air, wants out, it's been too long, I just want to go. Here's Seth Jones last night.
I don't know. I think we're the exact same team right now as we were at game one. And I think it's pretty evident out there. We haven't made any strides to be a better, more simple hockey team, and it shows. We don't get a lot of wins because of that.
This is kind of an opportunity to gauge that since you started here and now 60 games and almost you're back here again.
Well, this is in almost 4 years of bottom of the league, so it's not just this year, for me at least.
Is it going to be like this after every Hawks loss? Or is it going to be like this after every Hawks game? Because first of all, if you're covering the Chicago Blackhawks beat, who are you going to automatically after every single game for comments?
Yeah.
Seth.
I know. You feel bad because it's like you're glad that they say something.
Always.
Like how long have we talked about hockey players
Always.
don't say anything? They don't give us anything, and then they say something.
Yeah.
And, he probably was sitting there this morning. He spoke his mind. Everything he said is true. Everything he said is completely 100% fair and real. But do you think he woke up this morning and was like, oh.
No, I don't. I don't. I think that,
you don't
honestly,
think so?
I don't. I think that was more of Seth Jones. That was that is like 4 years of frustration coming out. I actually thought he was quite reserved, to be honest with you. We've seen players blast off before. I thought he was really calm about all of it, and there was almost a sort of little bit of a chuckle in his voice when he sort of talked about, like, guys, this has been like the last 4 years since I've been here. Like, this isn't just about this season. Like, look, they've tried to surround Connor Bedard with veteran players that'll change the fortunes of this team, that would help the team climb the ladder. It's like you're ticking off moments, you're ticking off days of his entry level deal. This wasn't like the Blackhawks, with that team that won the Stanley Cups, where Kane and Taves joined, but they joined after they were bad for a long time and had picked up players, and all of a sudden here come the two franchise cornerstones, and off we go, 2010, and everyone's singing "Here Come the Hawks." This is a lot different, and there's a frustration, I think, with everybody. They've gone through the coach. Connor Bedard's frustration is evident. There was a TNT situation with Paul Bissonnette and how that played itself out very, very publicly. And at the end of it, like, you kind of sometimes have to put on your decoder ring, Zach, and figure out, okay, what exactly is he trying to tell us? And I think what he's trying to say, in maybe not so subtle terms, is the problem here is composition. It's been like this for a long time. And again, that's why I go back to my point off the top of the show here. As much as it is right now a disaster in Chicago, like, things are awful. And we do wonder about Kyle Davidson. Yep. Does there need to be sort of more veteran voices around him here? No one's cracked the code. No one's cracked the code on how do you do it when you start with the franchise player, as opposed to you're halfway through your rebuild and then the franchise player emerges. That's the sort of main point that I wanted to get across here, coming off of the Seth Jones comments. I get it.
Yeah.
Is he being a little bit self-serving? Yeah, because he wants out. He wants to go somewhere else. He's saying, like, listen, I can't just continue to scotch my career like this. By the time this team is good, I'm going to be how old? Where am I going to be in my career? I have good years ahead of me. Let's just do it. And I do wonder, too, because there are teams that have talked to Chicago about Seth Jones. I just don't know how you're going to get something for him of any substance whatsoever, considering the nature of that contract.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, I think you disagree with this. I feel like because we're looking at San Jose and everything's sunshine and rainbows there in San Jose.
They're a year behind.
I personally think that
they're a year behind. Watch.
I wonder if it's a little different. I'll throw one thing out there, and the one thing that makes me feel like it could actually just be a little bit different. Not like they're going to be a competitor next season, but they went and got Askarov. And you're going to build with that. You've got a promising piece back there. You've got Celebrini. You've got a couple of other players that are there with them, like Will Smith and stuff like that. But
still green bananas, though. Like, there's still green bananas. That's the problem. Like, these are all still young players, like, learning their way through the NHL. Like, man, NHL's so hard. I know it's the most obvious statement in the world. It's so hard. I can only imagine what it's like for a young player or young players. And that's why I said, like, San Jose, like, as far as frustration level, like, I wonder how many Herb Brooks moments, Warsofsky's had after games, right? Where, like, how could you not? Like, no one likes losing. It sucks, right? And it just gets compounded and compounded and compounded. Right now, it's still like Celebrini mania in San Jose. Give him another year.
The only thing is, it feels like San Jose has been fun, and I didn't feel like Chicago was.
Chicago was fun last year. Hang on.
I just felt like Bedard was
fun.
Fun.
Bedard was fun, just like Celebrini's fun this year. It was fun watching Bedard last year. This is awesome, and a little bit of a race between him and Faber for the Calder, but we're all in love with Bedard, and this is awesome, and it's going to be another step. And again, rebuilds are bunny hops. Like, they're not straight lines. They are.
Yeah.
They're complete bunny hops. That's why I don't know that this one. I don't know. It feels like really bad in Chicago right now, and it's been a while, and I just wonder if I just wonder about Kyle Davidson here through all of it, because they've made the coaching change. Bedard is frustrated. Jones is being very public about it. Something has to give. How do you
think Luke Richardson felt after he saw those comments? I mean, obviously we're just speaking for him. We don't actually know, but like, I don't think Seth Jones say that.
I don't think first of all, I don't think Luke Richardson is a petty person, but I'm sure there's part of him that's like, that's right, the problem wasn't coaching. Of course.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Again, like, whenever you see situations like this, you always say, is the problem coaching or composition? And somewhere Luke Richardson's probably saying, yeah, see, problem here, he's identifying it, and he's saying the problem here is composition. Now, the fact that he's the guy that wants out, and there's not anybody else on the team that's barking about this, you can be pretty sure that, you catch them in candid moments away from microphones and cameras, they're probably saying the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. It's still bad. Anyhow.
How do you go past this, though? Last thing on it I want to ask you about. Okay. How do you go past this? Like, is this free agency? Are you having to make moves in trade deadlines that are bringing in players that can help join you soon? Like, how is the quickest way? What is the quickest way?
Quickest way is free agency. And this is a huge free agent class, and the salary cap is going up. And you can make the argument that, and again, it's Chicago, so you can use all of your cap space as a resource. right? Like if there's
Right.
a team that can buy its way out of this one, it's Chicago. It's still a destination where players want to go. Chicago's an incredible city, and you say to, I don't know, take your pick of potential free agent, whether it's Rantanen or Mitch Marner. Excuse me. I knew you get a giggle out of that one. You can say like, look, you want to spend the next 10 years playing, or next 7 years playing with Connor Bedard?
Yeah.
I mean, really, this is one of those you can try to buy yourself out of it situations. Like, again, there's a lot of, like, the one thing you can say about Chicago, same as San Jose, they've put together incredible pipelines for players. But you know what coaches say about that? I don't care about prospects. I want players. And breaking players into the NHL is hard. And breaking players into the NHL is, again, like the all development is a bunny hop here, and you're seeing it play itself out with the Chicago Blackhawks. Do we have time for Tkachuk, or are we going to get to Anthony?
Let's do Tkachuk quickly here.
Okay, actually, you know what?
We're just getting him set up.
Okay, so as we get Anthony Cirelli of the Tampa Bay Lightning set up here in a couple of seconds, Brady Tkachuk, and I'll ask Cirelli about the Tkachuk's Public Enemies #1. This is Brady Tkachuk on the Spit and Chicklets podcast commenting on Quinn Hughes. We have this one all set to go. Zachary,
Yes.
Okay, this is Brady Tkachuk. Have a listen to this.
Quinn, kind of like when he was figuring it out, when people are like, Quinn might come, Quinn might not come. And I think he was all about coming. But I just don't think he got cleared by Vancouver to play. So a little shady business to begin with. We all know who they were cheering for.
I just love it. Turn this into a soap opera. I don't care whether it's right or wrong. Even just having Brady Tkachuk whisper shady business, and we know who Vancouver is cheering for, is gold. And here's what I'll ask you to do. Look up the name Johnny Lydon. Johnny Lydon was the lead singer of a very influential punk band called the Sex Pistols in the 70s. And one of Johnny Lydon's great quotes was, when he was talking about the success of the band, he said, you need to do two things. You need to establish the name and cultivate hatred. And they're one of the most successful punk bands and influential bands of all time. Is there a better example of establish the name and cultivate hatred better than the Tkachuks in the NHL? And it's all good for everybody. Like this tour that Matthew and Brady are on, and by the way, Brady's out tonight for the Ottawa Senators against Winnipeg. This tour that they're on is nothing but gold for the NHL. Because you don't, like, it's almost, you don't have to be liked by anybody other than people in your home market. And in this case, because it's talking about USA and Canada, in your home country. I absolutely adore what Brady and Matthew are doing right now. I love what they did at the tournament. I know they're miserable to play against, as I'm sure our next guest is going to explain. But I just love even just whispering shady business, and we all know who Vancouver is cheering for, under the umbrella of talking about Quinn Hughes not being available for service for USA at the Four Nations. Come on.
I know. He's obviously joking here too, right? But it's like, it's fun.
But it's Brady Tkachuk.
Why can't we do this? Why can't we have this? Yeah. Like let's build this up. Let's have fun with this.
Yeah. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love it. Do we have our guest lined up?
Yes, we do.
Okay, he's all set to go. He is a champion at the junior hockey level, at the NHL level, and at the international level now as well. He is Anthony Cirelli of the Tampa Bay Lightning, and he joins me now. Anthony, thanks so much for stopping by, and a belated congratulations for the Four Nations Faceoff Championship.
Yeah, thank you very much, and no problem. Thanks for having me.
The pleasure is all mine. First of all, I mean, there's so much from that tournament. Like, I was one of them. Ryan Getzlaff mentioned this on Leafs Morning Take last week. Like, we didn't know what this tournament was going to all be about. How hard were the players going to go? What was it going to look like? How was it going to be played? What type of intensity was this going to be? Like, when you first started hearing about this, and then your name started popping up and you got named to the team, like, did you have any of these questions, or did you know, like, from the get-go in this tournament, this was going to be Game 7 4 times?
Yeah, I think just the vibe of it was going that way. I mean, we had a lot of meetings and stuff kind of before we even got there. And, we wanted to win. We wanted to go there and we wanted to,
Mhm.
be the team. And then I think right when that first game, the crowd was electric going out there for warm-ups, remember? And, the whole building was filled and it was packed with fans standing up. So I think right there in that moment we knew like it's game on now, and then we're going all out.
Yeah, give us some like personal context for this, because you scored the Memorial Cup goal, the last goal ever at the Colisée in Quebec. You've been part of 2 Stanley Cup champion teams with Tampa as well, and now this. Like, give us a sense of like where you would place this on the sort of ladder of success for you. There's Memorial Cup, there's Stanley Cup, and there's Four Nations, which really kind of took on a life of its own and jumped off the hockey pages into the general sports pages. Where would you put this one?
I think it's right up there with, probably winning the cup. I mean, it's such an honor to, represent your country and wear that, Canadian flag on your jersey. And I just think those games, like, those were probably the hardest games I've ever been a part of, just wise, physicality wise, emotional wise.
Yeah.
It was up there. I mean, everyone wanted to win. It's, best on best. And just the way guys played, man, sacrificing their body and the passion to play defense and check and do all the little things right. I mean, those were like I said, the fastest paced games, arguably faster and physical than playing the Stanley Cup final. Honestly, those were pretty intense games.
Is it kind of sad? I've always sort of imagined like a player like yourself who gets to play in that kind of looks at this tournament and says, okay, now I get a chance to judge myself amongst the best in the NHL. And you're out there in the deep end and you're either going to sink or you're going to swim. Like, what does that do for you? Like, now you've been through a tournament like this and you say to yourself, okay, like, listen, I can be successful at the NHL level, but like, here we are best on best and I'm hanging with all the top dogs. Like, what goes through your mind here?
Yeah, I know it was surreal at some points just being out there and the guys on our team, the guys you're playing against. I mean, obviously you play against them every single night, but it's all together and just like I said, just how hard the games were. And I think it's just a confidence boost to be able to go there and try and play my role. Obviously, I know I'm not there to score a bunch of goals and stuff. It's more be on the deep side, only kill, being physical, the little things. So I think just going through that experience and playing those games, I think it's helped me when I come back here and now get back to regular games and a little bit more confident pucks and a little bit better offensively. So but yeah, that experience I think helped greatly.
I want to ask you about Tampa in a couple of seconds, but a couple more about Team Canada, because this is a team in a tournament that captured everybody's imagination. Okay, unfiltered, uncensored, what went through your mind when you saw Brandon Hagel throw down with Matthew Tkachuk? Saturday night, Montreal, all eyes on that game.
It was unbelievable. I mean, Hags isn't afraid of anyone out there, and you see that in Tampa, and then obviously on the biggest stage of them all, and he's chucking them. I mean, he's all offense. He throws hard, and couldn't be happy for him. He got our guys going, got the bench going, got the crowd going. It was. I mean, I didn't know that was happening till. I mean, if you look at me, I'm ready to play, and then the what's going on, and I look over, and Higgs got his gloves off. It takes a lot to do that, obviously, to fight. For him to go in there and throw punches and then get the takedown was awesome. And then obviously the other guys as well, Bennett and Parenko doing the same thing right after. I mean, it was most electric start I've ever had to a hockey game.
It certainly was wild. So let me ask you about the final play, because this one is going to be shown over and over. Like, we all have the golden goal from 2010, I think, burned into all of our minds. Like, we're taking that one. We're taking that one to the crematorium, all of us. But let me ask you about that final sequence. Makar with the hard rim, and Marner picks it up off the boards, and the pass to McDavid, no dusting, and right over the glove of Connor Hellebuck. At what point did you say to yourself, I can see this going in? Because I think the elapsed time was like under 2 seconds for the entire play. But there's a moment where you're like, this is going in. It's over.
Yeah, I mean, I think as soon as Mitch touched the puck, it's such a skill of his where he takes off the wall in 0.1 seconds. And you kind of saw the play develop where McDavid was in front all alone. And if he got to them, we knew that Dable was going to put that in the back of the net, and you see Mitch make the play, and then just kind of I see it in my mind. On the bench, he had a perfect view of it, slow motion, and he does what he does, and he puts it in the top corner, and everyone went nuts. So it was, a little pre-scout for us. A great play, obviously, great players making great plays, and back of the net, and then the boys are cheering.
You know Jon Cooper. You've played for Jon Cooper for so long now. We've all heard the audio and seen the video. Will someone just be selfish and shoot the puck in the nets? What was Jon Cooper like for you, and where were you for that moment where he said that?
I think I was on the bench, and Coop always does, like, he always has those little remarks kind of during the game, and he's so positive and kind of gives us confidence. So he was just like, let's go. Someone just put it in the back of the net and shoot it. And that's what they did. That's what we did.
One final thing here. How much of this, like, are you thinking to yourself, you're playing in this tournament, how much are you thinking to yourself, if at all, I don't know, Olympics, that this is chumming the waters for the Olympics?
Yeah, obviously it's the back of your mind. It's about 12 months away, and I think just going through this experience, kind of how hard these games are and how you got to play in them, helped me, like I said already. But I think just trying to have a good summer this year, come back next season and just try to have a good showing and try and make a case to try and be on that team.
Is it tough to adjust coming back?
A little bit. Just in those games, everyone's going 110 miles per hour every second of every shift. And obviously you can't sustain that for a full 82 game season, but in a tournament like that, you have to do that, because if you don't, then the other team's going to score. And coming back here, and playing we played 2 games already now. It's just, you feel like you have a little bit more time with the puck, a little bit more space. But just goes to show, like, how committed everyone in that tournament was to playing the right way, playing good defense, and didn't want to screw up.
My son goes to Bill Carruthers, your old high school. Zach Phillips, who produces the show, he went to Bill Carruthers. It's in Unionville, for those that don't know, just a little bit north of Toronto. And they put out a big post on Instagram congratulating you. And I'm curious, like, from, like, you win something like that. We're just showing this out. Yeah, Bill Carruthers sending this out. Look at that. Hey, look at that young Anthony Cirelli.
Yeah.
Look at that. You have a quick memory from those days?
Yeah, they were awesome. I was there for 3 years. It's just such a great school for athletes, because they kind of help you out in ways that a regular school wouldn't. You're missing a lot of time kind of when you're going for tournaments and active practices. So they did a great job of helping me get through school where I could focus on my sport, focus on playing hockey, and knowing that they'll be there to help me with the the school aspect of it.
Any surprises for, like, who reached out to you? Previous high school is an obvious one, but, like, anyone, like all of a sudden, like, randomly you wake up one morning and it's like, oh, I didn't expect to get a text from this person.
There's a lot of people. It's like, if you saw the numbers on the games, like, everyone watched.
Everybody.
This. And it's just nice, people haven't talked to in a while. Just like a congratulations text. So it's awesome to see how big of a tournament this was, and how many eyes we got on it.
I've always maintained it is the fool who bets against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Just when you think, okay, they've lost the one player too many, Tampa comes back and proves everybody wrong. Right now, you guys are playing some great hockey, as we all know. What's the secret sauce? Like, it seems like it doesn't really sort of matter. Like, lose a couple of guys, including, like, a franchise icon, no problem. We got one back in Ryan McDonough, and we're off to the races again. Like, what's the secret ingredient here?
Yeah, I think just like management and coaching staff do such a great job. Whoever they bring in seems to just help us win games. I think we have a great leadership in the room with, Shady and Mac and Cooch and Pointer, guys that have been there and have won. So I think just, everyone kind of buys in. We have a pretty tight knit, and everyone kind of puts their ego aside for the better of the team and sticking to our structure, sticking to the right way. And then think we just have gamers, like guys that are willing to do whatever it takes to win. So I think when you kind of add all up together, it's just good stuff.
Listen, we talk a lot about you and Point and Hedman, certainly Kucherov. Who are and Hagel? Like who's Vasilevsky? Geez, a murderer's row you have there. Who are the guys, or is there one guy that you think that us in media totally miss out, and we should talk about more?
Um, I think the two guys is McDonough and Chernak.
Mm-hmm.
They play such hard minutes and they play the game so hard, and they're kind of like our backbone back there and in the defensive side of the puck. We harp a lot of it on defending well and kind of limiting chances and goals against. And I think those two guys, every night going against, the best players and just the block shots that they have, the minutes they play.
Yeah.
They're just stellar back there, and how calm they are. So, I mean, you could obviously go around, like you said, of every guy in there that sacrifices and does that. But those two guys, for what they bring to the team, and their leadership, max leadership ability, it's huge for us.
I had one person mention to me about Ryan McDonough that he said there's no defenseman in the NHL who gets back to position quicker or more efficiently than Ryan McDonough. Agree or disagree?
Oh, agree. He's always in the right spot, and if he isn't, he's there all the time. And I mean, he's just so smart with his stick, with his body positioning. He's so calm out there. We say when we're out there, we're safe with him and Cherney out there, because they just control the game so well. But yeah, Macri, I mean, he skates like the wind too. I know he's not the flashiest guy on the offensive side of the puck, but I mean, you see him tracking the puck and get on the back check. He's unbelievable.
I do want to ask you about the rivalry with the Florida Panthers. Now, you just spent a couple of emotional weeks with Sam Bennett, who for most teams is public enemy number one. Can you get that same type of animosity up for Sam Bennett after having gone through something like that with him?
I don't know. I mean, he's unbelievable. I've got him actually a couple times before the tournament, and he's awesome. But just the way he plays, what he brings to a game, like his physicality, the plays that he makes, he could score. He's a guy that does it all. And it was nice for a change, being on the same team as him than playing against him. But I don't know. We'll have to see if we get another playoff matchup here. What transpires?
I think the whole hockey world's waiting for one of those again. Thank you very much. I think that's one of those things that now that two are at the height of their powers, two Stanley Cup champions. Let me close on this. So from now, like the next tentpole is trade deadline, and then the Stanley Cup playoffs. Jon Cooper is one of the most successful coaches the game has ever seen. I still can't believe he hasn't won a Jack Adams. You're always in the conversation for the Selke Trophy. Braden Point remains one of the more underrated players. Kucherov and Hart and everything. Like there's such Vasilevsky with the Vezina. Like there's so many individual players. Hedman's a former Norris Trophy winner. So many individual players you can focus on and talk about how wonderful they are. But is it different this year with Tampa heading into the playoffs? Is it now that, hey, listen, we look, down the street and the Florida Panthers have the Stanley Cup. Does that change things for Tampa?
I mean, I think, for us as a team, it's always get into the playoffs first and let's see what happens. And I think we're a team, kind of built for the playoffs. And I think the way we're kind of playing well right now and trying to get that game intact. Like you said, Florida's the reigning champs there, and I think the last 5 years it was us for 3 and them for 2. Two kind of teams going at it, and those series against them are absolute battles and wars. But yeah, I think we're excited. I mean, we're excited to push here for the next 20 games and see where we are. Obviously we want to push to maybe trying to win the division. I think we're a couple points out, but I think for us it's just kind of focusing our game and getting it ready. Obviously, first securing that playoff spot, that's goal number 1. And then once we get in the playoffs, kind of build up for that.
This has been awesome. Congrats again from all corners, from coast to coast to coast in Canada. And best of luck the rest of the way to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Thanks so much for stopping by with me today.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, there he is, Anthony Cirelli from the Tampa Bay Lightning. Interesting with that, and Zach, like you went to Bill Crothers as well. He was, and the coach was, by the way, Brent Scagnetti. I get that right? It was Brent so
Yep.
he's no longer, he just retired.
Mr. Scagnetti.
Mr. Scagnetti. So Mr. Scagnetti, who is now retired, had him on the Bill Crothers hockey team, grades 9 and 10, but only used him as a fourth line center because he wasn't there to score. He's mainly there to kill penalties and to check. And that guy turned into a 2-time Stanley Cup champion, Memorial Cup champion, scored the game-winning goal, and now Four Nations champion.
Played Double-A late into his career too, I believe, and then had like a brief stint to Triple-A. Then went undrafted to the OHL, made to the OHL. Went to my high school. List of accomplishments.
You know what? It's a really cool story. It's a really cool story because you're right. I think his U16 year, or as you like to refer to it as, minor midget. His U16 year, he finally went to AAA and played with the reps, and then his U18 he played with the reps as well. Reps always have a good U18 program, but like his is a story of perseverance and never quitting and never drafted and overcome all the challenges. He was a walk-on with the Oshawa Generals, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know what the flip side to that one is? Like for every Anthony Cirelli success story, and Cirelli's like the ultimate success story. Like you look at what he's done. Like look at all the hardware that he's picked up along the way. You know, one of the things I always think about. It's gonna sound awful because we never talk about things like this. We never talk about things like this. Mm-hmm. The guy that probably should have quit and just hung on like way too long. Like I'm sure you saw them growing up in your life, in your hockey career. Like, hey guy, you know what? It's not gonna happen. You know, Cirelli is the ultimate success story, but how many guys end up playing deep in their 30s and you kind of say like, it might be time to grow up now because it's never going to happen.
That's why I finished out midget, said, that's it for me, boys. I'm going to go play intramural hockey and drink dollar beers on Wednesday nights. I think that's more my career path.
You have something cool tonight. Is this the second week in a row you're playing with Pavel Barber?
Not second week in a row, but second time.
Second time.
Yeah, we're playing Pavel Barber. Did it earlier. Remember we chirped about the flyby and all that stuff?
Yeah, was that not last week?
Yeah, going to go.
Oh, your flyby. Oh, my
that
God.
was a while ago.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Was it a while ago? Okay.
Making,
all these shows run together.
Yeah, it was a while ago. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Get
got
video.
Another one here tonight, outdoor. I'll try my best. Yeah, get some video.
Get video for this one. I really want to see I want to see like the lazy back checks, the flybys, all of it. The wide turns.
I'll try to avenge
no
Laz.
no stops and starts, just wide turns, taking yourself out of the play, doing everything you can so you don't bend your knees the whole time.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Give me
we'll
give me that guy. Did you have a thought, by the way? And I want to thank Anthony Cirelli for stopping by, and also thanks to Tampa Bay Lightning for making him available. Did you have a thought on that Brady Tkachuk piece with Spit and Chicklets? Because I honestly, like, the more that I think about it, the more I absolutely love it. Like, again, like, it doesn't have to be true for it to be a story. And I know that everywhere one of the Tkachuk brothers go, usually like there's a trail of hatred from that fan base. Like it's pretty easy. And they're really, really good at it. And we've normally focused in on Matthew, but him just saying like shady business about the Vancouver Canucks and Quinn Hughes. Guy's painting a Picasso here and just churning out headlines. Good on him.
Yeah, a couple things. First of all was I hope Wish does not get a hold of this because that was
seen it. He's seen it
that
for
was
sure.
nightmare
That was his.
fuel.
That's his conspiracy theory right away.
I know. So I'm like, I saw that and I'm like, this is bad. This is bad news for us here. Get this off the internet. The second was a little bit harsher. If you are upset by this, put the phone down, go outside, get some fresh air. This is good for the game. This is good for growth. He's joking, guys. Like he's
funny.
It's a tongue-in-cheek comment. It's a funny
really
comment.
It's
and it's
awesome.
going to fire some people up. Funny. Like This is what you need for the game. It's not the same stuff. The NBA also, by the way, like picks up in social media and builds things because they develop drama. Well, that drama's probably gone a little bit too far where it's like, do they play the sport anymore, or is it just all about who's on what team and what's people saying in the media? There was none of that in hockey. You know, we finally have a point where we get a little bit where it's entertaining and people speak their minds.
It's great.
Let them do it. We should be encouraging this, not bashing people for saying this stuff. That was unreal from him to say that.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, to Wyshynski's point yesterday, the Tkachuk brothers are going on the New Heights podcast. The Kelsey
So
brothers.
good.
Like, it's
so good. It's so smart. Like, capitalize on all of it. And the thing is, they lost. Like, it's not even the winning team, and they still continue to dominate the headlines. It's so good. It's so good. All right.
You'd think they won.
Want to mention our good friends at Tim Hortons. So, Canada, your favorite contest is back. Roll Up to Win is back at Tim Hortons, and that means you could win millions of amazing prizes with just the swipe of a thumb. Imagine turning your routine Tim's run into an unforgettable vacation with Sell-Off Vacations, a $1,000 Rakuten cash prize, or an all-new, all-electric 2025 Volkswagen ID Buzz. Even the simple joy of winning a free coffee, bless you, Tim's, or donut can make anyone's day. But you only have until March 23rd, so open up that Tim's app and get rolling. This is our game, Canada. Don't let this chance at millions of amazing prizes pass you by. Play Roll Up to Win on the Tim's app now. Rules apply. Canada only. No purchase necessary. Visit the Tim's app for details.
I think I saw Rosie crushing a roll up the rim this morning on the Morning Take Show.
Let's find out.
This morning or yesterday.
Let's find out.
Yeah,
Let's bring him on. Our man Jay Rosehill stopping by to talk about all things Toronto Maple Leaf and probably get his thoughts on the Four Nations and his thoughts on the roll up. It's not even called Roll Up to Win anymore because it's not just about the cups anymore. The Roll Up to Win. So it's not Roll Up the Rim anymore. It's Roll Up to Win. You a Tim's guy like the rest of the country, Rosie?
Of course I am. Funny story, you bring it up. I was rocking one yesterday, dropped my kids off at school, got there for my pod, grabbed a coffee, realized it was Roll Up, and I just dug it out of the garbage because I remembered I haven't rolled it up yet. So I'm looking at it right now. It's getting rolled soon. I love how you have to actually roll up the cup again. Like that was.
I know, that's awesome. I love that. Might be like your resignation could be in that right now. You could just be like, all of a sudden, like I'm penning my resignation, piecing out on all of it. It's such a Canadian institution for crying out loud. Anyhow, good to see that is back. Good to see your smiling face again, and a couple of issues around the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I want to get there in a couple of seconds, Rosie. But I see you're stealing my guest. You're stealing my weekly. Brian Burke is on Leafs Morning Take tomorrow. What's your relation? I mean, listen, no surprise. Like, you're one of Burkie's favorites. What was your relationship with Brian Burke, and what's your relationship with Burkie like now?
Yeah, I mean, I got traded to Toronto from Tampa's organization and showed up there. He had just taken the reins. They signed me to a 2-year extension right after that. And it was kind of late in the season. So I had my summer, showed up to camp and wasn't really sure where I fit. I hadn't played in the NHL yet. I had switched forward, 2 years prior. And I just remember standing there watching some of the fitness testing, and I just felt this presence behind me. And I turned around, and Berkey's just standing there with his collar open, his tie, and he's spitting into a cup.
I was going to say, do you have his dip?
Yeah, of course he did.
All right,
of course he did. He just looked cool as can be, and like I said, I felt a presence. The man walks into a room. You don't even have to be looking at him or notice him to feel him walk in a room. And we were looking at a guy on the Wingate test, and he didn't even look over at me. I just said, Berkey, how are you? And he just went, this is your kind of team, Rosie. This is your kind of team. I was like, all right, message received, and went out and gave her hell. But, every time I came across him, talked to him, it was just, you just got this sense that he cared about you. He knew about you. He knew my wife's name. He knew a lot of intimate details about people, and there's a lot of people to know that about, and you'd get them mixed up and shuffled around, and he's been in so many organizations. That's hard to do, but he was a guy that made a point of knowing all those things, and I know that it's because he genuinely cared.
One of my favorite stories that he's told me is when he was in Vancouver, and the Rangers were playing the Canucks, and this was when he was running Vancouver, and his son Patrick was there on the ice with Berkey, and they're just passing the puck around at Pacific Coliseum, I guess it would have been. And Wayne Gretzky came on early before the Rangers skate. And Brian said he immediately left the ice and wouldn't go on the ice when Wayne Gretzky was on because Brian Burke, did not deserve to be on the same sheet of ice as Wayne Gretzky. Patrick stayed on. Patrick's now with the NHL Department of Player Safety. So Patrick stayed on and passed the puck with Gretz and back and forth and all that. And I just think to myself, like, for a guy, because, Berkey, like, and guys like him, like, they have codes that they live by. Thank you very much. And for Brian Burke, one of his codes is, I don't belong on the same sheet of ice as Wayne Gretzky. Rosie, I'm guessing that story does not surprise you.
No, not a bit. He's not a lot of people deserve to be on the same ice as Wayno, but Berkey's exactly that. He's a guy that understands things like that, like the codes. And read his book, Burke's Law. I've been through it more than once, and it's full of examples of that where he doesn't think it's his place and he didn't feel comfortable doing that. And he needed to check with this guy before he made that decision because he thought it was the right thing to do. And the book's full of those examples. And, you know, you could, if you don't know him, you could maybe think that he was brash or arrogant or any of those types of things that I'm sure he's been called, but it does not take long to dig a little deeper and realize that Burke is full of class and understanding and wherewithal about what's going on around him. He's always gotten it, and I think that's a big reason why he's been in the game as long as he has.
Okay, to this year's edition of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and more specifically, Rosie, last night's edition of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Once upon a time, there's a Toronto Maple Leafs team that would have wilted, given what happened early in that game. But, you know, I don't want to sort of bias the jury here or sort of taint a question, but your wide brush thoughts on what we saw last night at TD Garden, culminating with a Mitch Marner overtime game winner.
Yeah, I think you're seeing this season with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and it's not a drastic departure from what they were before, but the tweaks and the changes and the tinkers, they seem to have a different character to them, and they're finding ways to win hockey games this year where in the not so distant past, they have found ways to lose hockey games. I mean, no lead was safe. You didn't know what to expect. You should expect the unexpected with them, and they're starting to become more reliable, and I think they believe in themselves. They're able to come back when they don't start with their best. They're able to close the door when they get a lead on teams. They're doing a lot of things that they're not known for, and I think when you kind of peer behind the curtain with those types of details, you're starting to see that maybe there is reason to think that this team's a little bit different than ones in the past.
I was going to say, like, that was my follow-up to all of this, Rose. Is like every single year you hear Toronto Maple Leafs fans saying, this year it's different. This year it's different. And there's always a reason why it's different, right? But I'll submit to you because you played in the NHL, you watch the NHL, you follow this team. Is it different with this squad?
Well, no matter what area you're talking about, I feel like Maple Leafs fans, Leafs Nation, the pundits, whoever you're talking about, there's just this there's no middle ground. It's either they're unbelievable or they're terrible. And it's you're building statues or you're tearing them down. You're planning a parade or you're burning your jersey and throwing it on the ice. Those different types of acts that people seem to be at. And it's those extremes that they've gotten to. And I'm not saying it's undeserved. They've shown signs of being phenomenal, and then they just fall flat. They give you hope, and then they take it away. And the bottom line is this fan base has been tormented since 1967 in all kinds of different ways with all kinds of different players. And those scars don't go away until you can give them what they ultimately want. So I understand why when they're doing well, there is the naysayers to still say, don't get ahead of yourself. I've seen this movie before. Yep. But I think we have a big enough picture of where they've fallen short and how they've fallen short. And whether you're talking about the goaltending duo this year, the coaching staff, the attitudes that all of the players have taken, the attention to detail, the consistency that they've played at, I think those are all pretty core reasons to believe that it could be different this year. And I'm just saying there's a different feeling around the way they're playing hockey. Example last night, right? The team from 2019 or 2022, or take your pick, didn't win that hockey game in the TD Garden, but they do this year. And you could point at different reasons on why that happened, and I think it's a plethora of them. I'm not building the statues or planning the parade, but I'm saying they're doing the things that are necessary to get over the humps that they haven't been able to in the past.
So you're not saying it's time to measure the bridges to make sure the floats will fit underneath for the route. We're not at that level yet. But if they're going to inch closer to getting the tape measures out for the bridges in Toronto, like you look at, there's always this sort of hue and cry of they need better defense, But then the playoff puck drops and the defense is fine. Just have a hard time scoring goals here. If you're Brad Treliving, what's going through your mind in advance of trade deadline?
Well, you're totally right. People are always talking, like in the offseason when they fall short and lose in the first round, they're saying our goalies aren't good enough. We need stud defensemen. And you're absolutely right. If you look at it, it's like, guys, were you watching? They couldn't score any goals. They're losing 2-1. Like, you got to score goals. And at the end of the day, you can move some pieces around, and it's nice that since the Four Nations face-off break, they have come out and their core pieces, their bottom six, their depth, whatever you want to call them, has been coming up big and contributing offensively, which you absolutely need in a deep playoff run. But at the end of the day, it's the big boys that have to score the big goals. It's that's how you've built this team. That's where your eggs are. They're in the basket of the core four, if they're still being called that. But Willie needs to score the big goals. Austin needs to put the team on his back. Mitch needs to power through and have playoff performances consistently and through the games and through the rounds that they get to. It's just nothing happens without that. So as much as you can nitpick, and obviously you talk about this stuff every day, you get into the dirty details of it all, and those are important, but without those guys having playoff performances, and I mean, if they can all get hot at the same time and pull their weight, I don't think there's a team that can really beat them. We just haven't seen that. They've struggled to do that. And, Mitch in recent weeks here has been able to show up and play heavier hockey and not shy away and not be a ghost and score the big one, albeit lots of it is on 3-on-3, which you're not going to get in the playoffs. But I think he's riding high right now. I think he's got an extra belief in himself, and it's showing up in the last couple of weeks, including the Four Nations, which is a great sign for Leafs fans.
Yeah, let me pause on Marner here, because I mean, he's one of the most divisive players like on the team. It used to be Nylander, right? It used to be William. The audit for the Toronto Maple Leafs revolved around Nylander, and now it revolves around Mitch Marner. On Morning Cup of Hockey this morning, part of the conversation was, what happens with Marner? What does that next contract look like? Where is that next contract? He's with Cortex. Darren Ferris is the agent. He's a big believer in, if you're this close to free agency, like, go there. Go have a look. Go have a look at the other. Go have a peek over the mountain and see what's there. He's a big supporter of walking guys to free agency. Complicating all of this for Marner is, so much of Mitch Marner being Mitch Marner sort of revolves around, whether it's his, activations outside of hockey, revolve around him being a Toronto Maple Leaf. And it's almost as if you sort of feel this sort of tug and pull of, my guy can go to free agency and there'll be a lineup, versus we know your guy wants to stay in Toronto. So how do you find the decimal point here that makes everybody happy? When you look at not the immediate future, but the long-term future of Mitch Marner here, Rosie, what goes through your brain? Like, what are your questions?
It's how headstrong are each side of this conversation in their number. Like, Brad Treliving would love to sign him for X, and I promise you that's less than what Mitch Marner would love to sign for. And if, just like any other deal, if those are too far apart and they both dig their heels in too much, it's not going to happen, or at least he's going to get walked to free agency. And that doesn't mean you lose him forever. You could still get him after that fact, but I don't know what Mitch's number is. I don't know how badly he wants to stay in Toronto, and I don't know how bad Tree wants to re-sign him and what he's willing to give. But we do know that the problem with Toronto is having too many eggs in the basket of a few. And you used to say, I don't know if you can win a cup with a $10 million player. That's just too much, albeit the cap has gone up and it will continue to do so, and that's great. But when you look at Nylander's contract And when you look at Austin Matthews' contract, and now you're going to give another massive contract to Mitch Marner, and all anybody knows for sure is that none of these guys have done the Nathan McKinnon thing and stood up and said, get on my back. I am plowing and trudging through the playoffs. I'm going to take you to the finals. I'm going to get us over the hump and win you a Stanley Cup. In fact, none of them have been even close. So that's a scary thing. And, you know, they've used the phrase, run it back. We're going to run it back. We're going to run it back. And people pull their hair out saying, well, the definition of insanity is doing the exact same thing and expecting a different result. So you sign Mitch to a $14 million a year contract. You have the pretty much exact same team core that you've had that has fallen short in the past however many years for the next however many years. And I think that's just kind of scary to people based on what's transpired in the playoffs.
It's a fascinating, listen, this is like the sports talk radio topic in Toronto. Like, it's like when you wake up in the morning, what are we going to talk about today? Marner, boom, instant. But it's true.
And there's all kinds of different thoughts. And some people love him. Some people don't. So there's a polarizing
that's what makes it so good. That's what makes it so good. That's what makes it so great.
And I really don't know what's going to happen. I have no idea. No idea what's going to happen. I would love to think. I don't know what's going to happen.
Anytime you try to, it's like grabbing a handful of water. You think, okay, I got it. Whoa, where did it just go? Okay, let me close on this one then. I am curious about, over your right shoulder, there's a Hockey Night in Canada towel. And when I was doing ringside for Hockey Night in Canada, my favorite Hockey Night in Canada, well, I have two. One when I was in Calgary, and was it a bar with Jamal Mayers and Nigel Dawes, and Jamal asked if I could get him a Hockey Night towel because the one that he had, his brother used it and it was all ruined because he was dyeing his afro like red or orange or something like that, and it wrecked the towel. But my other favorite Hockey Night in Canada towel story that I was involved in was a San Jose Montreal game, and I remember talking to Ryan Clough after the skate, and he's like, oh, I really want one of those Hockey Night towels. And he's like, are you in charge of like who gets the towels or the interviews and all that? I'm like, well, listen, like Ryan, put it this way. If you do something in this period when we do the visitors interview, if you do something, I'll request you. Like, go and do something. So sure enough, Chloe goes and gets like 2 goals in a fight. And like, I didn't even get into position, and Chloe's already just standing there saying, put the towel on me, Marek. Put the towel on me. What is your Hockey Night in Canada towel story?
I've got 2 of them, and I wouldn't be a guy that normally gets interviewed in between periods, but was the first one or the second one? I think the second one was my first game playing for the Flyers, was in Toronto against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I had fought Colton Orr and done well, and then I scored the game winner, and it just went off of my shaft. And it was a pretty devastating night for Toronto. I think they were needing that win as usual, and it was kind of anticlimactic being on the other side of it. But to be back in the NHL after the lockout for the Flyers and to have a big game like that, which isn't really like me, they grabbed me at the intermission and
awesome.
Threw me a towel. So I've got 2 of those, but I was golfing with Scott Hartnell in the summertime, and he's got one hanging off his golf bag, and he's dirtying it up. He's probably got 30 of them, so mine's a little more precious than his are.
I really do wonder who holds the record. I'm guessing it's probably Crosby, maybe Gretzky. Now that actually I really think about it, probably Wayne, who has the record there.
One of those guys.
One of those guys. Speaking of Wayne and Tim's earlier, have you ever seen anyone order the Wayne Gretzky at Tim Hortons? You know what I'm talking about?
No,
do you know this
I don't.
one?
I'm interested.
The
What's
Gretzky,
this order?
the extra large coffee, 9 sugar, 9 cream.
Oh,
have you ever seen that? Yeah, it's a thing, bud. Yeah,
I've even heard of that. A double to me, you might as well just get a hot chocolate. But 9 and 9.
Yeah, order the Gretzky.
What are you trying to do to yourself?
See what happens. You go to the drive-thru at Tim's, order the Gretzky, and see if they know what you're talking about.
I'll do it just for fun, but if they bring it out, I'll have to order 2 because that one's going in the garbage. Probably just sediment at the bottom.
Yeah, right. I mean, I found out about this like years ago. I'm like, when am I ever going to use this? Well, here I am in a conversation with Jay Rosehill and Tim Hortons, and we'll bring up the 99, the Wayne Gretzky Tim Hortons order. Okay, on that we'll let you go. Continued success, my friend. We'll check back soon.
Same to you. Thank you, Jeffrey. We'll see you again.
There he is, the great Jay Rosehill, one half of Leafs Morning Take, along with someone else who, Zach Phillips, works out at this time.
Yeah, every time I ask him, He just says, Jim, bud. Jim.
What's he
And
say?
I'm
What's his name? Jim? What? Jim? Say hi to
Why are
Jim
you
for
always
me.
seeing Jim at this time?
Yeah. Can't you go see
Yeah.
Jim earlier? All right. Have you heard of that one, by the way, the Gretzky?
Yeah,
The
I
Tim's
have.
drive-thru? Have you ever had
Yeah,
it? It's like
No,
it's like you just pour
I couldn't
sugar,
do
you just
that.
pour cream and sugar in a coffee cup and like whisper coffee over the top of it.
Okay, so you know what that reminds me of? Have you ever had
What's
the
that?
white hot chocolate at Tim Hortons?
No, I just get black. I just get a black coffee. That's my jam.
Yeah, I do too. But so I lost a bet, and I had to have I think it was 100 old-fashioned plain Timbits, and for those in America who don't know, is like the driest things of all time when you exceed 5.
Yeah.
And for every white hot chocolate I drank, I could take 10 off. So I had
Oh,
50
no way.
old-fashioned plain Timbits and 5
You just do-
white hot chocolates.
You
It
just
was
do like
disgusting.
stunts. Like you just love stunts, whether it's like smelling salts or like Timbits. I just found out when I went to Jasper, Jay Downton, our like big boss, told me they don't like that sour cream glazed isn't a thing in the United States. Did you know that? Sour cream glazed donuts is not a thing in the United States. Someone in the chat from USA
I
can tell
do-
me whether
No,
I'm on
you know
base or
why
off
I know
base.
that?
Why?
Burke told us that
Yes.
maybe on an episode
Oh,
not too long
he
ago.
did. You know how? Oh my God! I can't believe I forgot about that. Yes,
In
with Jim
Jasper.
Gregory. Jim Gregory with Jim Gregory. That's right. We did talk about this.
When you were in Jasper. Oh man, wow.
Yeah.
My brain sometimes my brain shuts. I forget all this stuff. There's a
same
lot
too.
going on, Jeff.
Outlandish Take Guy, who by the way has now sampled Morning Cup of Hockey. I'm glad to announce sour cream glazed is the best.
Really good, really good.
Okay, I swear we're gonna clean up the mess that we started this week. Every single day on this show this week, we've been like Zach and I will talk like, oh, we forgot about this. Oh, we forgot about that. Oh, we forgot about this. Little Willie Styles, Vicken, send me some donuts. And Outlandish Take Guy says they are Canadian only. Man, the things I am learning. The things I am learning. Okay, what do we need to clean up today? What are the things we need to clean up?
Most important for sure is emails.
Let's do it. Okay. Emailing
Also
the show.
to people. Yes, there you go. Go
Email the
ahead,
show,
Jeff.
the
Sorry.
sheet at thenationnetwork.com. I want to announce, I know, no surprise, we're already behind. And that is all my fault. I'll dive on the grenade. I'll fall on the sword. It is not, like I'm the anti-roaster producer guy. Like, no, this one's all on me. It's just because
this
it
one's
makes
on
I'm
me.
such a bad host. I'm just awful. So I've already got these backed up, and don't worry, we're going to get to them. We're going to get to all the ones that you guys have already sent in. So what are we starting with today?
Let's start with the first email that we got. And also, by the way, great comment by producer Vic in the chat right now.
Which
talking
is?
about things that are only Canadian. Hockey gold medals or in senior hockey gold medals.
Trolling, hard troll,
poke.
hard troll.
Okay,
That's a tough
let's
one.
go. Let's do the emails.
right.
Let's do the letter. The first one we got here. Do you want
Okay.
to read this, Jeff? Do you want? Me
Okay,
to?
dear Jeff and Zach. Actually, you know what? I've said a lot of words. Why don't we hear your dulcet tones? Everyone's sick of my nasally voice.
Okay.
You do yours. Get the good deep voice, rich basso profundo. Here we go.
Dear Jeff and Zach, motivated by Mikhail
you
Granlund's
already
OT
started
winner
with a
versus-
stumble. Hang on,
Yeah,
start
I
again.
fumbled. I fumbled.
Try it again.
Okay, sorry, my bad. Dear Jeff and Zach, motivated by Mikhail Granlund's OT winner versus Sweden, where his white jersey seemed to be stained with red energy drink,
Yeah.
I was wondering if you could ask one of the team's equipment staff about how they launder the jerseys. How often do they clean them? What's the process? Would this apply to the Fanatics premium jerseys that a lot of us fans wear? When away jerseys get stained with sports drink or blood during a game, are those jerseys replaced or are they able to clean them? And if so, how? Thought this might be interesting. Coleman from Edmonton.
Okay.
Go Flames, go.
All right, Coleman. Yeah, that's an interesting one. From Edmonton, go Flames, go.
Yeah, I know. That's why
all
I
right.
made sure to put it in there.
That's a nice touch. Okay, so I did ask an equipment manager in the NHL who shall remain nameless. I will read, although I'll have to edit slightly so as to not reveal identity because teams get a little weird. about you talking to their equipment managers. But here we go. We travel with 2 sets of jerseys, basically for situations like this. It's mostly when they get bloody or torn real bad. As for the sports drink / supplement side, that can be a pain in the ass. Very annoying for us. The guys are usually pretty receptive when we ask them, quote, please do your best with the drip on your jersey. So guys do get asked, right? We've seen a ton of things in water bottles. Actually, you know what guys were doing a while ago? I don't think it's really much of a thing anymore in the NHL. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. There were a lot of guys that were using beet supplements in their water bottles. No. And it would, it would drip all.
That's brutal.
I know it's harsh, right? And it would drip all over the collars. And so you would see guys be skating off in their whites, and they'd be like, it would look red from the beet supplements that they would have in their water. Anyhow, jerseys get washed every game, and the soaps we always use get blood, juice, cola out of them. When the league made the switch,
cola is funny.
Cola's that's an interesting one. What was it? Marty Brodeur would have 2 Diet Cokes after every period. I remember when I used to do
Chara
Inside
on the
Dune,
bench,
New Jersey.
Ovi on the bench.
Yeah. Yes. When the league made the switch from Adidas to Fanatics, there was literally 0 transition or issues with the pro stuff. It all came from the same factory, and the new Fanatics stuff has been just fine. That from an unnamed equipment manager in the NHL. I hope that satisfies. Coleman?
Yes, Coleman from Edmonton. Go Flames, go. Here is another email. This is a follow-up. I don't know if there's really a question in this one, but I think you're just going to like it. I laughed reading it.
Okay, go.
Hi, Jeff and ZP. Context. I'm a Southern Californian, 89, who was a Disney kid and longtime roller goaler.
Approved.
I am now a Ducks mini season plan holder and a fan of Anaheim's since 96-97. In 05-06, I was sitting in the lower bowl at the Pond for a game between the Blues and Ducks this is where I started to laugh. When a ruckus was raised on the ice, the conflagration caused someone sitting behind me to throw their nachos in my direction, blasting my right butt cheek with a yellow cheese-esque plasma, staining both my wallet pocket and my replica 98-99 Nike white and green Mighty Ducks home alternate sweater.
That's
Somehow,
awesome.
almost 2 decades later, I finally got the stain out in the wash. I guess this email is sponsored by Tide Now. Anyway, I know this isn't getting read on the air, but I love the show. Thanks for giving me a reason and a way to reach out to you. Vic in San Diego. Vic, you got on the show.
You can use the reverse psychology by saying, I know you're not going to read this. Just pretty much like a guarantee because it's a challenge. So well done.
I read it and started laughing. It's like the cheese on the
cheese
back
on the ass,
pocket.
Yeah. Sorry about your ass there, guy, with the cheese on it.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to do one more? We had another one. A math problem was what it was labeled.
A math problem. Okay.
Hey, let's see what we can do here.
Okay.
Hey, Zach and Jeff. Maybe this one takes some more takeaways here, and we got to figure some stuff out after.
All right.
Can you solve a math problem for me?
No.
The average is fair enough. The average is between 600 and 800 injuries in brackets of all types on a 40-week season. The Four Nations shut the league down for 10 days for approximately 700 players that extra rest and avoid injury to their team's benefit. So why are the hockey media preoccupied with Four Nations-related injuries when those players still would have been exposed to injury potential in regular season games?
Okay.
By math, this is where it gets too smart for you and I, Jeff.
Truth.
87.5% out of, 87.5% out times 1.5 weeks off times 15 to 20 injuries equals 20 to 26 average injuries avoided versus tournament injuries seems like a real good deal even for the owners / fans. You can even apply it out for next year's Olympics. What say you, Amy?
First of all, the reason I'm doing this is because I dropped out of math in grade 11. Humberside Collegiate Institute. Peaced out after Mr. Glickson's grade 11 math. By grade 12, I was done. The main issue is, even though statistically it might work out to be just fine, thank you very much, injuries is something at the Four Nations are catastrophic because you're dealing with the best players from all the teams. So it's not as if it's like, okay, fourth line right winger that did something was MCL. Okay, it's not going to be as much of a problem, with all due respect to that Jag. This is the second time we've said Jag on the show today. To that Jag, as it is to someone like our guest on the show today, Anthony Cirelli, which are absolutely devastating. So it's not so much the volume of injury as much as who it happens to. That's what I would come back with. And thankfully, that's my way of toe dragging my way out of having to answer a math question. How'd I do, Zach?
Pretty good. That's the same
thanks.
answer that I had when I read this one earlier. Was the same way to approach this. Yeah.
All right. Very good. Mr. Public Pain. Sorry, math 10, 20, 30. Still do math today. LOL physics mostly, though. Adam M. Grade 11 mixed math, and that was it. Yeah. All right. Everyone's with me on this one.
I did some math through university. I did some
You
math.
did, eh?
Mm-hmm. Just not like advanced stuff, but yeah. I did some math.
I did grade 10 or grade 11. That was it. My math teacher was this awesome guy, Mr. Glickson, and he was an old hippie, great dude, right from the 60s. And he used to bring, they finally made him stop, but he used to bring his python to school. He would teach with a python snake around his neck. I love snakes.
That's what you see in
It was the
movies,
coolest-
Jeff.
I know. Mr. Glickson was a legend. He's no longer with us, but it was first of all, great math teacher. Looked like a hippie, had like the big bushy beard and the long hair ponytail and all that, and had this python around his neck. He'd walk around school, ladies, gentlemen, hello, and the wonderful mathematician too, super smart. I just thought like this guy was the coolest guy in the world. My math teacher used to bring a snake to school. Can't probably do that anymore, I'm guessing, Zach, but it was a different time, sir. It was a different time.
I think so.
God bless you, Mr. Glickson, wherever you are.
So poor Cirelli for that picture that Bill Carruthers put out of him while we're on the topic of school. I would not want my grade 9 photo out there. I can't imagine. I don't even remember.
Everybody's the same way. Everyone's the same way. Everyone's like, oh, God, look what I looked like. What kind of chimp did I look like? That was brutal, for sure. But Carruthers is a good school. So you went there and played on the hockey team. Right?
Yep.
Like my oldest son's in grade 9. He loves it. Like Cirelli was saying, like it accommodates a pretty heavy workload for sports. Like you get to work out every day. They have like a class where you go and work out. You have a day where a class where you go and do all your homework for the day. Like it's essentially a high school that accommodates people that have a robust sports schedule attached to their life.
Yeah, unbelievable facilities too. You know, there's
Morgan Frost went there, right?
Rooms,
Morgan Frost went there too.
Travis Dermott as well. Yeah.
Oh, new Oiler, recently reacquired by the Oilers, and Morgan Frost now the Calgary Flames.
Bianca Andreescu went there. And some other people as well that I got to pull up. Yeah.
Zach Phillips went there.
Pretty good.
The legend.
I went there.
Philly, the legend. He now works with. He now works with Marek. Wow.
Yes.
Rethink your choices.
Yes.
Rethink your decisions. Rethink your decisions. Okay, we have more games tonight. Last night was awesome, by the way. Last night was great. Some really good games. We have 3 games on the go around the NHL this evening. Our friends at FanDuel, proud to connect fans to the major sports moments that matter to them. Roster updates, as always, from Daily Faceoff Fantasy, Twitter/X feed. We've got Winnipeg and Ottawa at the Canadian Tire Center. As you already know, Jets have won 10 games in a row. No Tkachuk, no Norris, no Pinto. Brady Tkachuk is too busy insulting teams in the NHL to worry about hockey. They're describing it as a lower body injury, but really he's just on the hate tour along with his brother, just going out there and roasting NHL teams. Magnificent Brady Tkachuk. New Jersey and Colorado, this one at the Ball Arena. Mackenzie Blackwood starts for Colorado. As Nick Alberga would say, revenge game against his old New Jersey Devils team. Jake Allen starts for the Devils. It is the return of Valeri Nichushkin of the Colorado Avalanche. Vancouver and Los Angeles at Crypto.com Arena. This one's interesting for a couple of different reasons here. Most notably, will we see the return of Quinn Hughes? Dun, 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 dun. The drama builds. He's listed as a game time decision. He has not, Zach, played a game in over 3 weeks and has indicated
Shady business.
he will not be at 100%, yes, for the remainder of the season, to which Brady Tkachuk would say, what?
Shady business, Jeff.
Business.
Shady business.
Shady business. Dave Riddick will start for your Los Angeles Kings. Kevin Lankinen for your Vancouver Canucks. And do the Los Angeles Kings now have found gold in that line of Byfield, Kempe, and Kevin Fiala, who were great against the Vegas Golden Knights the other night? What did Byfield have? 4 assists in that one? Was just fantastic, that entire game. So there is that. One other thing that I wanted to mention, and this is coming off a conversation on Morning Cup of Hockey. How are we doing on time? Oh, terrible. Okay, doesn't matter. We'll still go. Around Four Nations, a lot of conversation about, what if Russia had a team? Oh, well, Russia doesn't have a team. And, Colby Cohen was mentioning there's various articles going around about, whether the IIHF is being pressured or pressuring the IOC to allow Russia to compete in ice hockey at the Olympics. Now, I'm not saying that Russia won't be competitive. Like, there are 2 positions specifically where Russia is elite, capital E, elite. One of those is in net. Like, take your pick. Who's starting? Is it Shesterkin? Is it Sorokin? Is it Bobrovsky? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Discuss amongst yourselves. On the wing, take your pick. You want to talk about Murderer's Row? Kucherov, Panarin, Ovechkin, Kaprizov, Svechnikov, Nichushkin, Marchenko. Like, it just goes on and on and on. The problem that you see is down the middle and across the blue line. If the tournament started today, Yevgeny Malkin's your number 1 center. Vlad Nemestikov is probably number 2. You get to players like Dmitry Voronkov, who hasn't played center. I don't believe he's played center once this year for Columbus. He played last year. And then you get to like Philip Kurashev. Like, down the middle, major hole. And on the blue line, you're looking at Dmitry Orlov, Vladislav Gavrikov, Ivan Provorov, Mikhail Sergachev, Nikita Zadorov, Dmitry Kulikov, Pavel Minchikov, Artem Zub, Alexander Romanov, Yegor Zamula, Ilya Labushkin. Do you see where I'm going with this one, Zach?
Yep.
That is not exactly the USA/Canada/Sweden blue line by any stretch of the imagination.
It's not.
That's all I'm saying. Like, I just don't think that Russia stacks up against Canada or the United States at an international tournament. On the wing, amazing. In net, fantastic. Down the middle and on the blue line, question marks.
Okay, so quickly here, and we'll wrap this up. But I was trying to explain this to somebody when Four Nations was going on, because they were asking, it's an NHL event. Like, trying to tell them yes. And then, like, well, how different would it be then when you go to the Olympics? And like, okay, well, Canada and US, they're probably going to have the same roster, but Russia and Finland maybe, or Sweden, maybe they have a couple of guys who come from other leagues. How would you kind of describe the players? This is a weird question to ask you. I didn't prepare you for this, so sorry.
That's
but
fine.
How would you kind of like describe the players, the difference in the quality that you're going to get from the KHL players? Let's say they fill some of those spots with centermen, to like some of the pieces that you already have. I want to say pre-existing Russian players in the NHL who are playing center.
First of all, to me, that's part of the draw. That's part of the draw of Olympics and like international competition or the World Championships. The players you don't get a chance to see, who can have like an incredible 2 weeks, and it'll never, doesn't translate in the NHL. Like, for the longest time, we'd always say like, Morozov was the best player not in the NHL. But for all of those guys, there's like your various busts that you think are going to work out. But in an international tournament, this could be fantastic and parlay it into an NHL contract. But the drop off is pretty big between the KHL and the NHL. Like, well, just to be blunt, it's big, right? We're talking about, and this is not to slag the KHL at all, but like, nothing's close to the NHL. It's the best.
Yep.
It's the finest. And what we just saw in the Four Nations, as the guys are going as hard as they can, like, good luck. Good luck. Like, players from the KHL, you're not at that level. You're just not. And I don't.
Yeah, I think it's fair.
I don't think that it's going to be Russia in ice hockey come next time around. Anyhow, did we actually clean everything up today? Did we actually do everything that we said we were going to do? Did we actually fulfill our promise of performance that we laid out at the beginning of the program today?
Yep, we got all the emails in there. We got talked about Brady Tkachuk. We talked about Seth Jones. Cirelli came on.
Yeah.
Rosie came on.
Yeah.
We're pretty dialed today here.
All
We
right.
even got some bonus topics in there, I think.
Feeling good about myself. All right. Feeling good about the show today.
Pat yourself
all
on the
right.
back.
All right. Barry Horowitz style. The dated reference. Did you look up Johnny Lydon, by the way?
I don't know. Yeah, I did.
Good looking fella, hey?
Looked at.
All right, that's enough. We'll wrap it up. On the program tomorrow, I can promote exactly nothing because as of right now, we did everything we planned to do today. And so Zach and I, once he gets off the ice tonight, Pavel Barber, will start from scratch. Blank sheet, tabla rasa. And we'll start promoting it tomorrow morning. Thanks to everyone who joined the program today. Thanks to Anthony Cirelli and the Tampa Bay Lightning for making him available. Thanks to Jay Rosehill from Leafs Morning Take. And also, should remind you as well, DFO trade deadline. That's the one thing we forgot. March 7th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern. We'll be doing and breaking down live here on our YouTube channel all the trades. There it is. Look at that snappy graphic. At our Daily Faceoff YouTube channel. That is right here, which I will remind you, please like and subscribe. If you're listening on podcast, thanks so much for your attention. If you're watching live, you're in the chat, or you're listening in the archive, thank you for your attention to this program. We are back tomorrow, 3 o'clock Eastern. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock Eastern, Morning Cup of Hockey, Johnny Lazarus and Colby Cohen. DFO live at noon, and our act at 3 o'clock Eastern. Zach, good luck against Pavel Barber. Set up your camera at an appropriate place because I want to see how bad a hockey player you've gotten since your carefree halcyon days of playing U18 with the Markham Waxers under the tutelage of former NHLer, the great Dan Daou.
I'm going Patrice Bergeron, Onsei Kopitar, Selke mode here tonight, Jeff.
We
Nothing
shall
by
see.
me.
We shall see.
Nothing
All
by
right. Thanks for joining. We're back tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day. If you enjoyed that video, and we certainly hope that you do, please hit the subscribe button right there here at Daily Faceoff. I will put this lineup up against any hockey lineup anywhere. It all gets underway at 9 o'clock Eastern with Morning Cup of Hockey. That is Johnny Lazarus. That is Colby Cohen. Then at noon, it's DFO Live. And then 3 o'clock Eastern, The Sheet. Get caught up on everything in hockey.